Hi, welcome to our talk. Last one's before lunch, that's always a bit of a challenge. Our talk is a little bit different than the others. We're introducing service mesh in our organization, working on a POC, so not in production yet, and we're doing that at the same time as introducing the public cloud. And we want to talk to you about our journey. So we'll also discuss some cultural and organizational challenges and changes that we hope to achieve. Basically, we hope that introducing the service mesh will help improve our productivity and reliability of our services. Let's see. So we work for ING. Who is familiar with ING as a company? Yeah.
Wow.
So a lot. So we are a global financial organization, so it makes sense that we're known. So we serve 35 million customers across 40 countries or even more. In the US, we're mostly doing commercial banking, and that's a different type of business that we are both in, since we work for the Dutch side of ING. We work for the domestic bank, for retail customers. We are the banking sector market leader. We have over 8 million retail customers. That's like half of the population of the Netherlands, so pretty big. This means that a lot of friends and family know about our services and complain to us when something's down.
Yep.
We aim to be a tech company with a banking license. What this means is that we changed our way of working significantly over the years. We've been doing DevOps for 5 years. I think we were the first bank in the Netherlands, at least, to introduce this. We make different technology choices. We use more open source products, well, like Service Mesh. And we have less managers, more engineers, more of an engineering culture, stuff like that, which also allows us to do a conference talk. Yay. So our technological landscape is very diverse. We went to a meetup at Airbnb, and they were talking about having only 2 languages in their landscape. We were surprised, or sort of wishing we had the same situation. We have everything, so mainframes, non-stop systems, TIBCO, lots of vendor products for core banking, Polymer, Angular, Java, Scala, you name it, we probably have it, which makes it a challenge to deliver a solution to the entire engineering population, but also a nice challenge. So we also have to deal with a lot of IT risk and security. We have regulators that demand certain things of us, and proving that we are in control of our IT risk. We do this with a lot of documentation. We are very careful with data, of course. A couple of years ago, we had an incident in the Dutch national news where a senior manager was a bit too excited about the prospects of using big data, so we have to be very careful with our image in the Netherlands to our customers.
Yes, somehow our customers are really sensitive when it comes to their personal data.
It makes sense, but it's IT risk and security. Like every time we develop any application, it's like you spend a lot of time working on this topic, but we'll address that a bit more. So because of this diversity and emphasis on IT risk, we have a lot of build your own solutions, or we take open source products and we spend a lot of time making it our own and making it work in our own data centers. We also have had a fear of public hosting for like a long time. So anytime there would be a technology choice to be made or a product selection to be made, and there was something that would be off-premise, it was like, no, that's not secure by definition, until now. So we're trying to change that image. So this is us. Since we are in the Netherlands, going to San Francisco is still is special to us.
It is.
We were in the Mission District. We really liked it. So why are we actually standing here? Why are we the ones talking to you? So we both work in the reliability engineering department within ING. I'm a chapter lead, which means I'm a line manager and also do day-to-day work in the realm of reliability engineering. I'm also a product owner of a team. And I try to help others using best practices in this domain. And I help a little bit with spreading the SRE gospel within the organization.
Yeah, my name is Robin. I'm an SRE. And I'm a product owner of the SRE team, which is the same team that is responsible to bring every application to the cloud. So it's a large responsibility.
So a little bit more of our context, since it does influence why we received the assignment to do this. So we are a team of 7 SREs. Our main purpose is to reduce the mean time to repair and increase the mean time between failure for IT services within the bank. We have a lot of services, a lot of teams, a lot of people. So it can be a challenge. Why? Well, we have regulators that demand certain availability levels. Also our customers who are expecting more and more because of the availability and performance they receive from other products.
Do we have any users of bank systems in this room? And are you using online services? And are you happy when they're down? No, that's the same in the Netherlands.
Cross-cultural thing. Yeah, people get really mad if the ATMs don't work. But we do not reach the levels, and the targets that are set are growing. So regulators demand a certain percentage, and it gets higher every few years. It can be difficult to achieve that. We have 300 squads. We cannot help them all like the Google SRE model, being on call for all their services. That's like, we would have no sleep at all. So we do that via engineering. So we try to make products that help squads with improving their reliability. We automate toil, so manual work. So whenever we deliver a solution, we also make sure that there's the least amount of manual work involved for the teams using that product. So we deliver those tools, and we do a little bit of consulting when there's major incidents, and we do a bit of education on topics like monitoring, and probably in the future also service mesh. So our main product for a couple of years has been a monitoring and alerting solution, which we call the Reliability Toolkit. It's a stack based on Prometheus and Alert Manager because we didn't have alerting directly to teams, and a lot of teams didn't know their availability levels of their own service, making it very difficult to improve something about their own reliability. You need to measure first. But now we were given a new assignment, and the assignment was actually bring applications to the public cloud. So we were investigating that, and we said, no, we're not just going to bring stuff to the public cloud, we want to use a service mesh. And the reasons for that are very much tied in to the reliability advantages that Matt also addressed in his talk. So that's why we were given the task. Also, we're part of the applicational domain of our organization, so not part of the infrastructure team. And I think that's why the public cloud and service mesh go hand in hand as well, because we can take a new look at things, stuff that's not been done before. So what problems do we aim to solve? So who has watched the Apple, what was it, keynote on like Apple Card? Yeah, some of you. Yeah, they're a big competitor for us. So now Apple is starting to produce credit cards. I just looked at the website and it said like Apple Card, not by a bank. So we really have to like really in the tagline. So we think the future of banks is like changing. Our position like in history was always like, oh, there will always be banks, there will always be system banks. Right now, we don't really know. There's a lot of new parties out there. Netherlands is not as far ahead with Apple Pay and all the other products that you have here, but it's still a possibility that stuff will change. We want to keep our customers happy. They want to have great functionality. They expect it fast, or we need to be fast to make sure that they stay our customers. They want stuff to be real-time and available, of course. And we see that demands on this aspect are changing because of the other products they're using. Because if Google or Facebook or whatever is always there, or Netflix is always there, they also expect it of other digital services, including ours. Which seems like a good expectation, though. But right now, we're often involved in a lot of like migrations and not always spending time coding for our customers. So we lose a lot of time on the IT risk documentation that I talked about. So if a team wants to develop a new application and deploy to production, they have to prove that they're in control by maybe filling in tens of documents.
Well, tens. You asked me to find out how many documents, and I stopped counting at 82, I guess, because writing 82 documents to implement a new service within the organization is horrible.
Yeah, so it could be anything from proving that an architect looked at your resilience design or the availability levels of your service, but those are like a little bit easier. We also have very intricate documents on user access management, security, all kinds. So we lose time on that, and that's such a pity and a waste. Engineers start to get unhappy because they don't like documents. And we also started to expect to find full stack engineers. I don't know if this also happened at your companies, that full stack engineering was like a big buzzword, but when we're hiring, it's actually very tricky to find this person.
So yeah, the teams are like DevOps teams, so they're responsible for the virtual machine all the way on, until their application. And so what they need to be is like a virtual machine expert, middleware expert. Then it needs to be an expert in creating Java code, and it needs to be an expert in writing 82 documents. And it's very hard to find those persons.
Exactly. So we hope that there's a solution that will help us with problems like this. So like I said, the service mesh and public cloud are going hand in hand for us. So we wanted to share a bit like why we're choosing to do it on the public cloud, introducing the service mesh, using the public cloud and not using the VMs we already have. I'm sure you're all pretty familiar with reasons like this, but it's a little bit more cost effective to do it on the public cloud. There's less infrastructure development. We have like hundreds of engineers just working on infrastructure in-house. There's less maintenance on our side, and we pay more for actual usage and not for data centers that might be half empty. I don't know the state of our current data centers, but in theory they could be half empty.
Well, if you ask our infra department, they say it's full.
Yeah.
We need more.
Yeah, of course. So it's a bit more scalable for us. We've built an infrastructure ordering mechanism, which makes it very difficult to decommission machines and to change the performance of an actual machine or CPU or memory.
Yeah, considering that we have like this domestic services, so a lot of services are being used during daytime, lunchtime, evening, but at night we have hardly any load because we're not any global service. So at night our data centers are hardly used.
Yeah, especially the branch services, and then someone looks at the usage of the machines like, oh, they're only used for 10%.
Yeah.
If you take the average, yeah, but average is not what we're sizing for because we need to be there during peak time as well. So it would be easy to scale a little bit more with public cloud. So public cloud is highly available. We were talking about it. We don't actually know the availability figures of our own data centers, but we do know that the regulators demand of us like 2 nines, well, 99.88. So the 3 nines that's often guaranteed by public clouds should work well for us. And it also takes a lot of pain and effort out of our hands, basically. If they don't meet the uptime they guarantee, we get service credit. So
yep.
Seems like a proper solution. And we can also reuse best practices on the public cloud. So we are very good at taking technologies from industry and adapting it to ING. I said that we've been working on a Prometheus stack, but it doesn't mean that people can just click download, install Prometheus, and it's there. We have to do a lot of work, and also again proving that we are in control for that type of technology ourselves. So filling those documents. So if there's a proven technology out there, it's likely it will be delivered as part of public cloud services, which will make it a lot easier for us to use. Will save us time, and will also make it easier to learn from others. So right now, if we're like sharing knowledge on an open source product that we adapted, like Nginx, it can be difficult for us to exchange knowledge because we made it so ING-like. So it would be a lot easier if we could just use the out-of-the-box solutions, basically.
Yep. That's me, right?
Yeah.
So when you start migrating every application into the cloud, it's a lot of work. And we have a team of 7, and half of the team of 7 is working on SRE-related topics. And the other half is working on creating this platform in the cloud. So we need to use kind of principles to hang on. So we try to work with industry standards. And this sounds trivial, but within our world, it isn't. Like this morning, I read a discussion within our own company about someone discussing the use of Kubernetes. He was like, okay, but is the use of Kubernetes approved in our technology standard board? And because we have this own thingy running and it's able to run services as well, why should we use an industry standard if we have our own standard? So this is the world we live in. We need to convince people to use industry standards, and it makes it very hard to attract new engineers and good engineers. So by working with industry standards, it makes it easier for us to do hiring.
Yeah, and also easier for people to start working a team, like onboarding people to your existing team can take a lot of time, just teaching them how to use a product.
Yeah, yeah. Another thing that's really important to us is to work with open source products. Not only because we have like a small team and we're not able to create everything ourselves, so we have to use open source software, and if we are about to create any software ourselves, which I don't want to, but if we need to, then we need to open source it as well, so we could use the input of engineers within ING, but also engineers outside of ING.
Yeah, so a bit like the community part that we were discussing in the panel.
Yeah. And this one is really important to me. What I've learned in our road to productizing Prometheus for ING is that it's very hard for teams to use our product when we don't automate everything for them. If they need to use a new service, for example, if they need to use our platform and they need to fill in like this 82 documents again, then it's too much of a work and they can't put all this energy in creating new business logic. And that's what we need if we want to compete with companies like Apple.
Yeah, but also we set up a pipeline for people to use Prometheus. And we also simplified that because we thought we want people to be in control and to be able to do their own deployments. But we also changed that to them only updating the config and then us deploying that for them automatically.
Yeah.
So making like the bar as low as possible to start using it.
Yeah. So as less work for engineers and DevOps teams as possible. So our journey to the public cloud. Well, we use Azure, and the main reason for this is that we within ING use Office 365 already, so our Active Directory is already synced within Azure, which makes it a lot easier for us. And then we use Azure Kubernetes Service, so the AKS solution, mainly because we have a small team and not a lot of Kubernetes knowledge. So all the work I'm maintaining, like your master node, is being taken care of by Azure, which is a pleasure for us. And I think that is our responsibility are like the Kubernetes nodes and all about Istio components inside of them. So why using a service mesh for our platform? Well, we wanted to deliver functionalities for our engineers. So for example, if you have like this reconnect setting that you want every team to use, it's kind of hard to get to all teams and ask them, okay, could you please configure this retry mechanism so we have a better resilient system. It's very hard to do so because at the time you're at the team number 300, you have to start all over again because we had new engineers at team 1. So that's a big advantage. The other one is to improve our observability. So Janna already mentioned, right now we provision a stack with Prometheus in it. And yeah, teams are really want to use our stack because they think, oh, this is a stack and it gives us Prometheus. And once I have Prometheus, I have my monitoring up and running. And guess what? They have to generate their own metrics. And that's a big surprise for a lot of teams. So we want to instrument their services, and we want to use the service mesh for that. We want to use the sidecars to do that for them.
And I think that's also why Esri was given the assignment, and why we like Istio so much, because it's been such a struggle in getting people to even adopt one monitoring tool or change one thing, and now we can inject that. Yeah,
the funny thing is we already use Prometheus within ING, we use Elasticsearch for our logging, and we have our distributed tracing system for years now. I think already for 5 years or so, and it's a pretty cool product within ING. And the only thing teams have to do is to enable it inside of the configuration. And 2 weeks ago, we decided to opt out the configuration instead of doing it opt-in, because what we've seen is that only like 10% of the teams are really using the tracing, and it isn't any work for them. So it's kind of, yeah, it's kind of hard for to get teams to enable monitoring. We have kind of a bloom-green deployment strategy within ING, so that's kind of okay. But still we see issues with deployments and lifecycle management changes. So 2 weeks ago we had a team that were patching their like 4 virtual machines, but they didn't notice that every time they patched a machine, their service went out and never came back online again. So at the time they reached their 4th machine, their service was out, and all our main functionalities were out as well. So we have a lack of kind of canary releasing, A/B testing, and we try to achieve that through service mesh as well. Yeah, then the security part. We're kind of a paranoid company, and it makes sense because we're talking a financial organization. So we need to implement a lot of security measurements, and that's what we are going to try to do with the sidecars. So we could enforce security policies, and that's really important to us.
Do you have examples?
Of any risk policy?
Security policies?
No, not really. Well, the mutual TLS is a good one. We use tokens within ING, and now the team has to implement it themselves, and they could use and we could enforce those policies for them. And then why Istio? Well, to be honest, I watched this talk from Kelsey Hightower, and he showed this fancy thing with his Google Assistant controlling applications and traffic to the application. I was like, wow, I want it now. So we just started out with Istio, and until now it fits perfectly. So we don't really did kind of a comparison between products yet, but for now Istio is working fine for us.
Yeah, but we have convinced our most senior engineer.
Yeah,
so our most senior engineer at first, he was like, no, we're not using Istio. I don't like it. But then he played around with it like at home. Then he returned to office. It was like, yes. So it was nice. His opinion is sort of like a measure of like a badge of honor for doing something. Like, oh, if he's okay with it, we're good.
So, where are we standing now? So we have a design. So that's like our concept. And the first thing we wanted to do is to prove our concept. And so basically run our platform and ask all our penetration testers, security engineers, risk officers, everyone that's kind of public cloud, no. We ask them to test our platform, see if there is any holes in it, anything that make it less secure than our own data centers. And so the platform is running now, and so it's enabled for testing. And the thing that we're doing now is creating pipelines. So first of all, the pipeline for ourselves, because we like to create infra as code, of course. And the other one is pipeline for teams. And we selected a couple of teams to use our pipeline for their own application. And we chose some applications that are like less risky, but not less risky enough to be less interesting, of course, because you need to prove something. But those were teams with kind of a Docker experience, because we're not running any Kubernetes services within ING yet, but those teams had engineers with Docker experience, and preferably Kubernetes experience as well. So we try to co-develop together with those teams. And from the start of on, we asked our risk department and our security department to be part of this journey. So what we did is we took all policies that we found within ING. We took all documents, and then we wrote down every risk control that we have, and tried to write down how we're going to be in control of those risks by using either Azure, either Kubernetes, or either Istio, or the combination of the three. And the risk department wrote it down so in a language that auditors understand. I don't understand the language itself, but
and it may sound a bit weird, but we've noticed that with like really changing something about your way of working that's considered more risky, it really helps to treat your risk officers and security officers as humans or as co-workers. Sometimes we consider them the enemy, but it helps them to get them involved from the start, so that they feel part of it and also start thinking about it alongside with you and contributing, because we are still not the experts on this topic, they are. So we just want to get them also in the right mindset and to really create something together.
I think it's kind of a general rule to treat people as human.
Yeah, sometimes we forget. Sometimes we forget to treat our coworkers as
I know.
Yeah, because Istio should be a product that they love, right?
Yeah. So what's next for us? Well, what we try to do is give teams really benefits for using our platform. So basically, when using our platform, you don't have to fill in 82 documents. Let's say you have to fill in 10 documents. And that should be really a great advantage for that. So, any questions? Ooh.
Okay, just try to speak up, and I'll try to repeat the question so that everyone hears.
Which public clouds are you running on?
Azure. Oh, which public clouds are we running on? We're trying to make it work with Azure. Because of the Office 365 and the AD integration, that was the choice to start with. Other parts of ING are running on other public clouds, but that's more like we have financial startups within ING, and they are using AWS. And I've heard some people trying Google Cloud, but there's not a single thing because it's only used by very small groups. You had a question.
That was my question, why you landed on Azure. And second follow-up, are you using IaaS or AKS?
AKS.
Okay. The question here?
Yeah. A lot of light.
Yeah.
Yes, go.
So just prior, Sriram was talking about putting sidecars into standard VM. Your talk didn't really talk about trying to do that kind of operation. Would that be something that you would be interested in?
Yes.
So repeat the question.
Oh, repeat the question.
Are you interested in getting sidecars in VMs?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I am.
But it's
Yeah.
a bit of
You
our...
have this need to sort of backfill existing services that are running on legacy infrastructure.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do have a need to do that backfill, always. That's the problem with technological diversity. We need to make sure that something works for like all. But the VMs, with service mesh at the VMs, like I said, it's in the infrastructure department. So we want to prove that it works first, instead of going at war with documents. We want to make sure that we prove that it works and then influence them.
But you have not yet started that piece.
Not yet. We haven't started
No.
with that yet.
No, we're doing the easy path.
We're doing
Yeah.
the APIs first.
So if we want to do the hard part, then we will implement the sidecar into the mainframe. But I'm too scared.
Would be fun.
Yeah.
We can talk about that next year.
What? Pressure.
Too early.
In the back?
Oh, yeah.
More about the security policies and the use cases around that.
I'll leave that question to you. Can you tell more about the security policies? And
So-
Yeah, what are the security policies? Like, how are you using the security layer? And what are the use cases?
so how are we using Istio to fix the security policies?
Well, I would love to solve all security policies, but as I already gave the example of the mutual TLS, within ING we're not using mutual TLS everywhere because for some teams it's hard to implement, and by using Istio we're making sure that everyone is using mutual TLS. So I think that's an example, right?
One more hand. Yeah.
Oh, there's a mic now.
Just follow up on the same question. So you talked about like you are using token-based authentication, and now you are just replacing it with mutual TLS. So did you have any authorization associated with the token-based authentication, or it was just the identity, no authorization?
I didn't get the question. Can you repeat it?
Basically, for service to service, I heard that you are using the token-based authentication, and now you are moving towards mutual TLS. So are you adding any authorization layer on top, or is it
We
just
didn't.
authentication?
We haven't found a solution for that yet because we're facing that problem, because what we need to do is like have this hybrid phase where we need to connect like this service mesh thing in the cloud to our data centers, and we need to connect like application not using mutual TLS or not using their own implementation of JWT, for example, and then connect to the Istio world. So we still need to solve that, but we're in close contact with the teams creating like the token part.
I got a question.
Oh, yeah.
So you're putting this up on top of Azure.
Mm-hmm.
How much of this has required all of the expertise to come from you, and how much has it been drawn from Microsoft?
Yeah, so question is that we're putting it on top of Azure, and how much of the expertise that we have, and how much are we doing together with Microsoft. So we're actually working together with Microsoft. We just talked to some of Microsoft colleagues yesterday as well. We're trying to find a way that we can work well together. So we've done like a design session with them, and we're planning to do a hack week soon to combine that knowledge, but all sort of open source way of working together. Yeah. I think that's it. I think it's time for lunch. Thank you.
Thank you.